So what I'm about to do here is either genius or... Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today Keely has sent us something spicy. We have a Shredder deck list, but not a Ledger Shredder, a full-on Hedge Shredder from Duskmourn, House of Horrors. So this is an artifact vehicle. When it attacks, you may mill 2 cards. It's got crew 1. That's not why we're going to play this. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put them onto the battlefield tapped. So, we dredge some lands with Life from the Loam. Rather than needing to cast the Life from the Loam, we can put those lands directly into play. We cast a Winding Way. I guess we would choose Creature then. And then all of the lands that we hit that would normally go into our graveyard would go directly into play. Bit of an odd thing to do, as in your land deck you would normally name land, but this is the sort of thing that we could do with Hedge Shredder. The core shell here is this same one that I've been messing around with for a little while, this Lumra Living Wish shell. And I have made very few edits from the original deck list, because like trying to do this is a very, very different approach. The biggest thing that I did was just add in a few more colored sources. I think this originally had something like 12 colored sources for green mana specifically, and had like some Bojuka Bogs, Karakas, Blast Zone sort of stuff in the main deck. I don't know if you can get away with being that greedy with the mana if you are trying to cast a green card as a part of your strategy. Now, prior to going into the league here, and this is going to sound a little weird to say, I think this deck is trying too hard to win the game. I think this deck is simultaneously trying to be a Field of the Dead deck, Dark Depths Thespian Stage deck, and Urza Saga deck at the same time. My experience in playing with very similar decks to this is that you want to get control of the game, and then you can win eventually somehow. And it basically literally doesn't matter what you do. You Living Wish for something, your opponent dies. You eventually drown them in Urza Saga tokens, whatever. I think that the deck is better served with Maze of Ith, or sorry, not Maze of Ith, with some extra land destruction and the Tabernacle at Pendrelvale in the main deck. Keely's build still has Tabernacle in the sideboard, so we do have access to it. So we'll see how this feels in action. This deck might be better at making Urza Saga, copying Urza Saga, and kind of dirtling around in that capacity. And we might have a better time making artifact creatures that can actually crew this. We'll see how it plays out. But my initial suspicion is that there's too many ways to win the game here. Unlike the version that I was playing last time, we are playing Manabond. So sometimes we can have some very explosive combo-esque hands where we Mulch or Winding Way once or twice and then dump everything directly into play, which sometimes can immediately trigger Field of the Dead and create an instant zombie. Current Legacy is very, very fast, so having an Oops, I Win button in the deck is something that I think is reasonable. I'm just unsure if you get to do all of these various ways to win at the same time. I don't know if you need to be dedicating more ways to not lose. We aren't even maxed out on Wastelands here to disrupt our opponent's mana. The sideboard is basically 2 things. Things to fight against unfair combo and Living Wish targets. The biggest one here being Lumra, but more realistically, we will probably be hitting Collector Oof for artifact matchups like Mystic Forge and Fairy Macabre for matchups like Blue-Black Reanimator. So with that being said, let's go ahead and hop into a league here. If you need your Hedge Shredders or any other hot tech, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAmagic.com. Tales of Adventure is an awesome store. I order from them all the time, and I especially go and sell them my stuff at in-person events. Promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and you always do get free shipping on top of that. Let's battle. Okay, so I have 0 heuristics on this exact build, so making my mulligan decisions is a little tough here. I think this hand is barely keepable. I think hands that have an exploration, generally speaking, are going to be stronger than hands that don't by a lot. but I'm not sure that I get to throw back something that just has 2 of my 2-drops that I'm building my deck around. Are you a second main phase hipster? No, you're not a second main phase hipster. You're just not playing any Magic the Gathering cards. Hey! Put that on top. So let's go Exploration. Land drop 1, land drop 2, and then I think I cast Winding Way to set up for the future. Let's select land. Okay, cool. We have a lot of land now. I'd like my opponent to play a land so that I can destroy it. My opponent is probably some spell-based combo deck that is 1 card away from winning, or this is like a Reanimator deck that is trying to just naturally discard a creature. Okay, yeah. A weird-ass dredge hand. I have no idea why my opponent kept this hand. So I want to get this going. I want to have access to this, and I would like to draw Living Wish. I think that means not dredging life from the loam. All right, there is a discard. Hydroelectric specimen instead. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pretty easily. Maybe I do just dredge. Try to get Field of the Dead online. Okay, so life from the loam. Target stage and Urza's Saga. So get Urza's Saga going. Play a Thespian stage, pass turn. I imagine that getting a Vexing Bauble off this Urza's Saga is going to be incredibly strong. Alright, that's a Spirit Guide to play Jack-O-Lantern. I am going to make a token here. I think my opponent can have the life from the loam if they want it. I could like Boseiju that, I don't know that it makes sense. Yeah, I think I'll just take a natural draw here. I have plenty of lands in hand. Alright, so this one that's at 3, I'll go ahead and activate immediately. I put Vexing Bauble in play to stop free stuff. I'm not 100% sure what's going on over there, but opponent is certainly up to no good. Then we'll probably go like land 1, land 2, combat, attack for 3. Alright, and opponent is just taking no game actions. So I will make a thing. I will Thespian stage and copy Urza Saga as well. I don't really need to dredge here. My opponent's just dead. There's a Hedge Shredder. So yeah. Pithing Needle, Jack-O-Lantern for good measure. Alright. Land drop 1. Land drop 2. This is lethal damage. I'm going to just cast another spell just in case. This is one of those times where I clap and say the London Mulligan is the most powerful thing in the game of Magic. My opponent cast Jack-O-Lantern as their only spell all game. Like, they did not even play this as a land to make me wasteland it. So yeah. Let's assume that Vexing Bauble's good. Let's assume that Sphere of Resistance is good. My opponent presumably is trying to combo me on turn 1 or turn 2 most of the time here. I think that means that this is fully just not on the menu for this game. Expedition map can probably go. I could cut some lands here. I could also just cut Manabond. I think I conceptually like Manabond though. And I'm unsure if I want to like. I could cut both Manabonds and make Field of the Dead worse, or I could like cut Dark Depths and 1 Thespian stage or something like that. Take out 1 combo from the deck. I don't know that I need that as a backdoor out. Let's cut 2 colorless sources. I think I'm going to keep Bojuka Bog to Living Wish for. Yep. This is probably about the best I can do versus a deck like this. Alright, do I just die this time? Seems likely. That's fine. Lose Vexing Bauble. My opponent goes back to 4 mana. Alright, so there is the Informer and the activation. So let's just get a feel for what's going on over here. Way more normal than I was expecting. So my opponent has Pact of Negation. Got Oracle, we've got Poxwalkers, Dread Return. Okay. I lose that one. I guess we can wonder whether or not Living Wish is actually fast enough. Like, is paying 2 mana to tutor up Bojuka Bog, or rather to tutor up Fairy, better than just boarding in the Fairy itself. Like, I can just board this in to have a 5th way to get to turn 2 to play Sphere of Resistance. Actually, Pithing Needle is fine. Living Wish is then not great. I don't Bojuka Bog at instant speed, which is what I want to do in a matchup like this one. Because most of the time, if my opponent dumps their entire graveyard into play, they just win. I think I'm going to accordingly trim a Living Wish. You know, It can find me some things that are playable. It's not overly exciting. Living Wish may just be worse than a mana source or a collector oof or something. Unsure. Ultimately, it probably doesn't matter because the game is decided on, by very different cards other than that. Alright, so turn 1, Vexing Bauble, shut off the free stuff. Turn 2, Urza Saga, Sphere of Resistance, hope to draw another land, otherwise I have to Field of the Dead. This is fine. Mazavith innately not doing a ton here. Alright, my opponent has gone to 5. I will lead on Vexing Bauble. The scariest thing for me, other than outright dying, is probably just a Thoughtseize taking this Sphere of Resistance. 17. I do lose the Sphere of Resistance. This is taking much longer than I thought as a decision. Maybe I don't lose it. Alright, I do. I can Living Wish for Bojuka Bog at a moment's notice, should I need to. However, it may just be better to Manabond and put Urza Saga in at my end step so that I can immediately start attacking next turn. And just ignore Living Wish. So make a land drop. Yes. So now I have the mana that I need to activate towards Urza Saga, and I'm actively working towards finding Pithing Needle. So now it becomes, is casting Winding Way better than making an Urza Saga token? If I have 4 Wastelands, I think it's super easy to just snap it off, but I don't. If I find 2 untapped lands, I do something cool. I think this is fine. Let's name land. Ooh, buddy. I'll make a land drop for turn. Go to end step there. Use this ability. Say yes. Now I still get my Urza Saga token, but I made 3 additional land drops. Drunk. But let's see if I die. 2 mana, 3 mana, Undercity Informer. I will Pithing Needle that. That's not a problem. So, yeah. Ooh. Yeah. This is fine. Undercity Informer. Urza Saga. Go to punchies. Punch for 4. And we're done here. I think if my opponent mulligans in game 1 and just kills me in game 1 by playing a reasonable game of Magic, like, I just have no chance at winning both of the post-sideboard games. I think this one was lost when my opponent kept their game 1 7-card hand and then did not take actions for the remainder of the game.
Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, just the best place to keep your online deck lists, and the reason I say that is it just has so much functionality. So for example, let's take a look at some random legacy deck here. You can click on your various 2-drop slots and you can see what % chance you have of casting various things on curve, and you can get a breakdown of your mana symbols and all of that stuff, and there's a lot more here than just this. Consider checking it out.
So this is kind of similar to the previous hand where I don't have one of these 1-drops that really lets me do something broken. I've played a couple games with this now. I feel like the hands where I do have one of the 1-drops are going to be much better. I think I'm going to try to take advantage of the fact that I'm on the play and try to hit one of my 1-drops. I do. I'm going to need a land here to make this work. So I need both a 4th land and an enabler. I can play 2 explorations on turn 1. I could keep this and hope to high roll, which is reasonable. How many good 2-drops do I have? 13. Not the best. I think it is very possible that this is also a mulligan, but I'm also slightly worried about just mulliganing into Oblivion. I think there is strong upside of this hand if I hit one of those 2-drops in about 3 draws. It doesn't have to be a single draw here, but we're definitely in sketchy territory. All right, so my Wastelands are good to reasonable here. Cool. We are going to play so many land drops later on. I think I will take one of those out immediately. I don't know that I can get rid of my 2nd land here. Opponent says full house. Yeah, I wish it was a full house of a different thing. We're fuck! It makes mana right now because of my fucking Yavimaya. I'm a fool. Vexing Bauble's fine. Alright, this taps for mana. Pass turn. Alright, there is a tower. Immediate cycle. 2 sets of 3. Get them. We're in weird fucking territory right now, folks. Alright, Hedge Maze is great. Field of the Dead. I don't really want that right now. We're very far away from that being good, and the Hedge Shredder is not a singularly powerful card. I think I just put that into my graveyard. Notably, we have used 3 of 3 Wastelands. There is not another Wasteland coming, so this is all we get unless we Life from the Loam. Very much missing that final Wasteland right now. And unfortunately, my opponent is now going to break through. This is where the things like the One Ring and Karn and all that jazz can start happening. I think we played a Tormod's Crypt just to hedge against Life from the Loam. I like that a lot. All right, so we will hopefully hit big here. Hit land. We did not hit very big. This is a legendary land, unfortunately. So I can play an Urza Saga, but my opponent can answer this Life from the Loam. All right, and opponent is just not fucking around with it. That's fair. So I expect this is the point where my opponent just like ends up with a One Ring and they spiral out of control. I can hit a Living Wish for Collector Oof, and that would be very good. Urza's Workshop now tapping for 3 because of the copies of Planar Nexus. I think I'm just going to get hit with a Mycosynth Lattice here. Yeah. So in case you're not familiar with this, everything's an artifact. Activated abilities of artifacts your opponents control can't be activated. So the fun thing that happens here is that my lands don't tap for mana anymore. And now it is trivial to actually kill me. You know, we could wait a turn, get a Pithing Needle a Karn, make our opponent find another win condition, but I think it is very clear that I have lost this game. And this is where I really miss having the extra Wastelands and the Ghost Quarters and such. My sideboard's not great. Like, my opponent can just be a deck that plays Vexing Bauble to defend their higher cost cards. You know, occasionally there might be awkwardness with something like a Lotus Petal or something, but like Vexing Bauble is not very actively good here. Blast Zone can be okay. I might just board that in directly. You know, it enters with a charge counter, so I can use it to sweep like Voltaic Keys and Manifold Keys. That's like fine. You know, our big sideboard card is this Collector Oof. So I think, unfortunately, my opponent's deck is likely to improve more than my own deck here. So this hand has a Wasteland. It has Living Wish for Collector Oof. This is, I would say, overall fine. I have 2 lands that aren't immediately producing mana, which is not great. But I think this is kind of one of those we accept this for what it is situations and hope that Collector Oof does our opponent dirty. It is an Urza Saga, which I will hope to Wasteland. You may Pithing Needle. Are you going to name Wasteland or the onboard expedition map? Naming Wasteland. Okay, Exploration is almost great, but the land drops that I make are not currently that strong. I'm going to go ahead and still Living Wish for Collector Oof. This hedges against a lot of the other stuff going on with the deck. Saga ticks up. That's not making mana immediately. Okay, now Urza Saga tokens can happen. I think I'm more worried about my opponent slamming a 4-drop like a Karn or something. A Glaring Fleshraker. Okay, I sure don't remove that. Expedition map, get Yavimaya, play Yavimaya, Exploration, play another thing. It's probably just better for me to slam Collector Oof and play 1 land drop this turn. The fear of what's coming is real. My current hypothesis is that my opponent is just going to go and cast a decently large Kozilek's command, exile my Collector Oof, and it is like my targeted sideboard hate did not actually matter. Alright, so Mox Opal not currently producing mana. A new Urza Saga. Oh shit. Hell yeah. I did not expect to get to untap with this. Yeah. Guess let's start here. Use land. Get Urza Saga. So play Yavimaya. Play Exploration. Am I interested in my own Urza Saga here? I think so. Hello, Odo? 1 Urza Saga, please? I think I can push 2 points of damage. Like, if my opponent blocks, I just maze. I think I am willing to do that. Send it? Okay. So I will go ahead and just untap that. That's fine. And now I think I don't Pithing Needle the Saga. I think I just Pithing Needle either Karn the Great Creator or the One Ring here. I think the One Ring. It's pretty close between the two, though. Alright, so nonsense is about to happen. Nonsense is not about to happen. Yeah, sure, I'll take 2. That's fine. Alright, cool. Now I just get to make land drop, land drop. I could just Lair of the Hydra. I think I like surveilling with this. Activating with these. That means Lair of the Hydra isn't that good. But Lair of the Hydra might surprise my opponent. Probably not. Because, like, Urza's Saga is still very much a thing. So I think I will activate my own Urza's Saga in response, just in case my opponent wants to Pithing Needle. I don't know that they are going to have more than one. Seems pretty free to play around it. Just a Lotus Petal, which is currently not producing any mana. Oh, Seiju. It is Karn rather than the One Ring. Sure. I'm going to go ahead and Surveil here. Don't need that. Alright, so Karn resolves. Opponent tutors. Does this trample? No, it does not trample. Picking up an Ensnaring Bridge. End of turn, since I don't have anything else to do with the mana, I will manually remove an ice counter. So I can activate a Blast Zone, which would get rid of these 3 cards as well as Pithing Needle on Wasteland. Okay. Slightly weird. I guess it will also potentially be getting rid of a Vexing Bauble that I am about to pick up. Okay. So I can attack Karn for 4. This has to be blocked. I can attack Karn for 2. I can crack Blast Zone, at which point I can Wasteland and try to keep my opponent from Ensnaring Bridging. Very weird game. All right, I think I'm just sending that at Karn. All right, that block is successful. Now I Blast Zone, sacrificed Blast, not tapping that one. Sacrifice Blast Zone, then Wasteland Planar Nexus. Next turn I can pretty easily kill Karn. Ignoring Collector Oof, I have 3 attackers that can go into Karn. Fuck! That's so bad. This is an Ensnaring Bridge, so this isn't necessarily forever. Okay, my 2/2s can all attack. This is probably going to be fine. So I can make this into a 2/2 by tapping 3 mana, leaving back Maze of Ith. Then I always kill Karn. And then we start dealing with the Ensnaring Bridge next turn. I was thinking about it, but I'm so pissed that it actually happened. Yes. Oh fuck, my Lair of the Hydra was not tapped, so I could have still cast Life from the Loam. That's a pretty big mistake on my end. I don't think it matters. I think my opponent wins this game now that they got to keep that Karn and another turn worth of Ensnaring Bridge protection. But I have a much better turn. Life from the Loam, Foothills, and Saga, and some other thing. Yeah, and yeah. I think we are playing this for a Surveil land and passing the turn. Land drop. Opponent has a bunch of mana now. I think I just eat a Mycosynth Lattice. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and call that game there. So I can look at a couple more cards. If I dredge over those, I find a Field of the Dead. That does not get me through my situation. I get to look at this card. Yeah, so I can have a better turn, but I don't think I end up beating this. GG's. I am 1 land away from an absolutely nutty hand. I might risk this one. Like, I can lead on Vexing Bauble, then play some combination of Winding Way, Exploration, have a Manabond as a bait in there somewhere. I think this is an okay, questionable keep. Opponent has Valk and Delver. I have a natural Maze of Ith, so that is fantastic. Never didn't have it. So I like fetch for a basic forest here. Let's do the snow-covered variety. It just feels right, you know? And I think I'm willing to take a hit from a Delver to lead on Vexing Bauble here and shut off counter spells for the remainder of this game. Then we can, like, Exploration, Wasteland, Maze of Ith next turn, or cast Winding Way or whatever. Ooh, we are going to take a full-on hit for 3. Remember when Delver was a playable legacy card? I remember. Delver flips to Force of Will. Alright, so Vexing Bauble, good choice. Was worth a turn. So now the next question becomes, does my opponent have things like Spell Pierce that I actually am going to end up caring about? Sick. Delver is so rarely played these days that, like, I don't know what my opponent is going to have in their flex slots. This is probably their thing more than anything else. I think I'm going to try to high roll with casting Exploration here. I have a Manabond that I can just cast later if this does not work. It is Actual Factual Spell Pierce, which is reasonable. Then I will play a Maze of Ith here and call it a turn. We've got this to defend against the Delver. If this Maze goes away because my opponent just has like a Wasteland as well, we might just get Delvered and die. Fuck! Illegal. So now the way that I win this game is play Winding Way, fill my hand with lands, and then mana bond them all into play. Ponder. If we had a bunch of main deck Tabernacles, I would say we'd end up being quite favored here, and I'm not sure how this math works out without those Tabernacles. I think it does not work out in a favorable way for me. Select land. Miss. Oh wait, shit. Yeah, I just clicked too quickly and did not play Field of the Dead. Sorry, I was just absolutely flabbergasted by missing a land. Like when you're over 50% land in the deck and you look for, you should hit one. Psychic Frog. You've got it. So there's 3 card types in Graveyard. It's possible I take 6 this turn. I need a massive zombie army here. Cast Winding Way. Use land. Are you fucking kidding me? I looked at 8 cards and did not see a single land. 8 goddamn cards. Like, maybe we can claw ourselves out of that one with Field of the Dead or something. Oh my god. Oh, okay. Cool. That's rough. Alright, so we need 3 more copies of Vexing Bauble in the deck, unquestionably. Expedition Map feels slow. Dark Depths feels unrealistic if I am cutting that. I'm going to cut a Hedge Shredder. I should probably just cut all of them to play like Blast-Zone, Bojuka Bog, some land that taps for mana, but I do want to see this do its thing at some point in the league, so I will keep them in. This is fine. I do wish I had one more untapped land. I think this is a beggars can't be choosers situation, though. I think Vexing Bauble is quite good. If I get Wastelanded immediately, I can just play another Vexing Bauble. Otherwise, I am hoping to set up this game for a Wasteland lock. All right, there's DRC. Exploration. Yeah, I mean, I'll cast that. This turn is perhaps not going to be amazing. I'm going to need a couple turns of setup before this hand becomes very strong. My big fear is this Boseiju getting Wastelanded, and then I am just knocked off colored mana. I think as long as we dodge that, Life from the Loam nonsense is likely to take over this game over the course of about 2 turns. I would love to draw literally any land for my turn here. A fetch land would be particularly cool. Oh great, I'm only taking 1 this turn. That's fantastic. Yavimaya is not bad. Life from the Loam. Target Wasteland. We've got a Vexing Bauble in play. Wasteland. Take out your Volcanic Island. Play Yavimaya. I think I will drop another Vexing Bauble. I don't think it matters particularly much whether you play Vexing Bauble or Manabond there. Like the second Vexing Bauble, I guess, could get hit by a Meltdown randomly. But the Manabond is probably not doing anything in the short term. And these sorts of board states are the ones where you want the Tabernacles to really put the squeeze on the opponent's resources and make it so that they can't cantrip towards outs against the stuff that you're doing. They do have more land still. Miraculously, it's turn 3. I'm still only getting hit for 1. That is great for me. Life from the Loam. 1 and 2 targets. Suppose this can get spell pierced. Does not. So land drop 1. Land drop 2. I'll play Manabond. At some point I can take a Vexing Bauble, redraw off one of these. I think I'm just going to hold up that mana and use it to potentially dredge Life from the Loam. If my opponent randomly surgicals it or something. Opponent unwilling to crack their fetch land there. Now they might be able to get a basic and play Psychic Frog or something off of it. Not a basic. Ooh, it's something big like a Murktide Regent. I need a Maze of Ith. Yep. All right. Murktide Regent. DRC continues to hit me for 1. 17. Rack 1 Vexing Bauble. Dredge Life from the Loam. Hit a random Bayou. That's just in the deck to be a thing that is not named Forest. All right. Fantastic. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. So I could get a 2/2 immediately. I think it's just more important to keep doing this, though. So I will Life from the Loam with 2 targets. Drop Maze as land drop 1. Drop Wasteland as land drop 2. And pass. At end step, I will Manabond. Oh, fuck. I had a way to do this where I got more zombies, didn't I? Didn't think that through all the way. But I've had 2 more zombies. Notably, the Murktide region is pretty small. So I'm saying no to Wasteland since I can just bring everything back. I have a couple different ways to victory here. I can copy Field of the Dead and kill my opponent. I can copy Maze of Ith and just have safety. Okay, sure. While this is still here, I'm going to go ahead and just copy that. Then I will take 4 in the air. I'm at 13. Dredge. Cast Life from the Loam. Target 1, 2, 3. Bam and bam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As long as I don't play Maze of Ith, these are all giving zombies already. So let's just always yield to that. Yeah. And yeah. I could Dredge Life from the Loam here. I don't think I need to. It feels like this is already winning. We are very much doing the thing. Make another friend. So now I just have my opponent's creatures on lockdown while having a 2-ish, emphasis on ish, turn clock. My opponent needs some sort of wild Blood Moon type card real fast. Alright, my opponent's got a land drop. I could change this Maze of Ith into something else. I don't think I need to. I will dredge this. Fantastic. So because I can just pick up an extra land anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wasteland this fetch land. So my opponent will go ahead and do that, grabbing a wastelandable land. Now, yeah. Bam and bam. Outside of some sort of force and negation type thing. Feels disgusting. My opponent does not have... do I want to play around a stifle? I don't think I need to optimize the number of zombies that I'm getting here. Like, the number of zombies seems unimportant. I'll choose to play around a stifle instead. So, I'm still just going to have lethal next turn. So, after those zombies, Wasteland Underground Sea. And that's where my opponent taps out. Okay, I could have optimized this game a little more strongly and had a few more zombies. Again, I don't think the zombies matter. All right, so I'm going to think about the role of Living Wish here for a second. Like, what am I Living Wishing for? Tabernacle? A lot of the time? Bojuka Bog sometimes? Blast Zone sometimes? Do I want to just board in any of this stuff? Like, I could just cut off my access to Living Wish and just board these things into my deck directly to make myself better versus Spell Pierce. I think I have enough win conditions that Lumra just doesn't matter to this deck. So what if we go bam, 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 play 1 Expedition map or 1 Dark Depths? Probably 1 map, that seems fine. Okay, so do I get Delvered if I keep this hand? Exploration is great, Vexing Bauble is great. Tapped land for Bojuka Bog, not great. Pithing Needle for Wasteland, great. No Maze of Ith. This is not a super replaceable card. This is so very close. But like so many times I just play this, play Vexing Bauble, get Wastelanded, don't play Magic. Try to keep it. I think it's a little greedy. Turn 1, DRC. Life from the Loam is great. I think I'm still going to start on Vexing Bauble. There are other counterspells like Force of Negation that I could potentially care about. Wasteland, very scary. If it doesn't happen this turn, it never happens, though, because I just Pithing Needle it. Ooh, buddy. Everybody relax. 19. Maze of Ith is cool. What am I feeding to Spell Pierce, though? One of the explorations is what I feed to Spell Pierce, since I just have another? Oh, fuck, it worked. Not expecting that. Okay. Got in my own head, now I'm wastelandable. Awkward. Okay. Exile your graveyard. So we'll see how this goes now. Ooh, no Blind Delver flip. This is a 1-1. Okay. That's fine. I Life from the Loam that back. That's not truly a problem. Surgical Extraction with mana. Sure. That's a massive problem. because Maze of Ith is the only way that I deal with creatures because I don't have Tabernacle in my deck. Well, I guess I have a Tabernacle that I can tutor for, but, you know, I'm not running the full 4 copies like I was in my Lumra, my own Lumra builds. Now I'm a little reliant on drawing a land again. I'm at 17. Okay, I drew a land. So now, play land, play Expedition Map, crack Expedition Map, get the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, play Tabernacle, and now, next up on the plan is find Wasteland, obliterate these 2 lands, which in turn will kill my opponent's creatures. Alright, so my opponent pays for their stuff, and then Delver does not naturally flip. The Wasteland is not a problem because I have Life from the Loam in my hand. I can also just bait it with Pithing Needle. Oddly, Wasteland on ThrabenU is surprisingly a problem here. Okay, so Urza Saga ticks up. I just make a token. I could make a 1/1 that blocks these temporarily. I don't think that's what the game is about, and I don't think I can afford that mana tax. I think I'm just going to go 1 mana, cast Pithing Needle, bait Wasteland. Opponent goes after the green source. I will be naming Wasteland for the future. Well, I actually... Fuck. Wasteland is my plan to kill these creatures. Fuck. My Maze of Iths are gone. Okay, so this becomes Psychic Frog. Yeah, so that name's Psychic Frog instead. Very strange. Yes. So now floating mana, get back that Boseiju, play that Boseiju. Do I want to play around Surgical? Or do I just want to get this other exploration in play because I am so strained on mana? I think I am so strained on mana that I do this in an attempt to dump every land that I get off Life from the Loam into play. This is a very strange game. My opponent pays to keep their creatures. Delver does not flip. Opponent does have more land. That one can represent a basic land, though, which is a problem because I don't have Ghost Quarter. Oh? Alright, this is an attempt to surveil a different type into the graveyard. It is successful. I get hit for 4. That did not get a basic island, though, so finding Wasteland is still potentially live. I will dredge here. No, we found all the Urza Sagas in the world. This is mana. Finding a Vexing Bauble. I can crack one of the 2 Vexing Baubles. Find land. Land drop 1. Fetch and Surveil. Hedge Shredder, which I cannot reasonably cast and then do Life from the Loam stuff right now. I'm just under too much pressure. I think I have to say no to that. Fortunate. Cast Life from the Loam. Yavimaya, Misty, 1 Urza Saga, I think. I don't think I want multiple Urza Sagas as disappearing lands right now. I have 2 land plays remaining. This is land play 1. This is going to Surveil with Hedge Maze. I don't care about another exploration. This is land drop 2. Now I 1, 2, 3. Pick up all of those. And I probably die to these creatures. Yeah, fundamentally not maxing out on like Wastelands and Ghost Quarters so that my Tabernacle can turn into real removal is very problematic for me right now. So I need to answer both of those creatures. I don't think I can destroy 4 of my opponent's lands in the same turn. Let's see what we can do here. Thespian's Stage. Don't think that's doing anything. The Hydra does not have reach. We're now entering, like, cycle this territory. Dredge a Life from the Loam, question mark. I could make a few Field of the Dead zombies. Those don't fly, and also run into my Tabernacle. Yeah, I think Maze of Ith being gone from my deck is a fundamental issue because I just cannot impact creatures without it. GG's. Alright, I don't think I am game for the 7-lander here. Okay. Probably get rid of 1 Life from the Loam here. We're not expecting this to be exiled in game 1 most of the time. We are hoping that our opponent's deck is a little bit slower. Like, I am looking to accumulate value over time with a hand that looks like this one. Blooded Strand. Thumbs up. I think I'm going to lead on Commercial District here. Is that necessary if Life from the Loam is coming? I believe that the answer is no. I think I just put that into my graveyard and see if I can randomly spike drawing Exploration or Manabond. Like, those are such huge draws to improve the power level of this hand. I would love to see like non-basic surveil land that I can just wasteland here. My opponent's timing is indicating that that's probably something that they are doing. But unfortunately, this is a blue-black deck, so we may just be facing down Psychic Frog immediately, at which point my opponent could go all in on that and kill me in about 3 combat steps, and that would be very scary. We dodge it, though. That's good. And okay, it's just past the turn. Fantastic. So I believe that this fully just becomes attack my opponent's mana and worry about winning the game much later. I would like to start doing Life from the Loam stuff, because that's how I find Maze of Ith before Psychic Frog just comes down and obliterates me. There's a basic, but this means that Psychic Frog is not happening this turn, which is obviously good for me. No shuffle there. Dark Depths, not super what I am looking for. I think I cast Life from the Loam to start looking for Maze of Ith. I think this game is about not losing instead of winning. I think I need to just not die to the giant reanimated creature or the giant psychic frog or the giant Murktide regent, you know, whatever exact flavor we're looking at over here. I think, ooh, the second basic. Fuck. Yeah? What are we doing here? Trying to spike Thespian stage? Don't have the mana to do cool things here. I recognize this username now. This is the Show and Tell Reanimator player that Brian has done some work with. The Maze of Ith is not great versus this. I think we're kind of fucked versus Archon of Cruelty. But we will try. All right, none of those things answer Archon of Cruelty. I can answer Omniscience in good news. That's so many fucking basics. Holy shit. I don't think I want to play a disappearing land here. I'm passing turn. I can do something kind of cute. So when my opponent attacks, I can discard Life from the Loam in an attempt to dredge Life from the Loam, finding Maze of Ith, which turns us into 3 damage per turn cycle instead of 9 damage per turn cycle. But Archon specifically is a massive problem. You fool! Only Urza's Saga's over here. And since I'm beating the dead horse here, Tabernacle, obliterate every land with Ghost Quarter is not a plan to answer problematic creatures like this. Someone asked, did I know about both of those if I was properly tracking Loam transactions? Don't remember. Okay, so there is a Maze of Ith. I'll get Maze, Yavimaya, Bayou. Ya and Ya. I think that tempo just means that I'm fully dead to this Archon attack. All right. So I probably want Spheres versus what's going on over there. I probably want Vexing Bauble. Probably get rid of Pithing Needle. I probably want to be able to wish for Bog and Karakas and Fairy so I don't board them in. I think I am getting rid of Expedition Map. I think when I do that, I cut Dark Depths. Then the obvious answer here is cut these. This is not independently good on its own at 4 mana. It requires me to also do something like Life from the Loam on top of that. I think, given that I'm boarding in Sphere of Resistance and this matchup is already expected to be very fast, I think that's probably the correct way to do this. Just feels bad. I would like to cast Hedge Shredder at least once. So this has Vexing Bauble on turn 1, but not a second mana to cast all of this stuff. I don't think I am down for keeping that on 7. This is quite good. I will get rid of one of the Mulch or Winding Way type cards. So opening hand is sweet. I'm going to take a small risk here by casting the Exploration rather than the Vexing Bauble first, because then I can cast the Vexing Bauble afterwards, and then my turn 2 with Winding Way is probably very, very, very good. But it's awkward if I allow my opponent to Force of Will there. Basic land and Silent Gravestone. Okay. So my turn obviously got way worse. The Life from the Loam is not good now. I can still hopefully do something reasonable with Winding Way. Select land. Any order is fine with those. So land drop 1, land drop 2. This is a Surveil land. And pass. I don't want to cycle Vexing Bauble in this matchup because it is doing things versus Omniscience. Although it's possible my opponent boards out Omniscience. I don't remember if I showed them Vexing Bauble last game. And this can represent another basic land. I would like to find more of my 2-drops that aren't Life from the Loam here. The Humor is not lost on me. So we'll send that to Graveyard. Now I can dredge it if I want. I don't want. Yeah, this is fine. That is at least a win condition. We can loop an exploration into play beyond just that. And we'll see how much time my opponent needs to get their stuff going. This is where the sphere of resistance type stuff would be really good. They're not pressuring my opponent's life total yet. And because of that, they have all the time in the world to fire off multiple cantrips to set up one of their combos or the other. That's a fetch to clear. When it's staying on basics. And this manipulation is very, very good at this stage of the game. Underground Sea. I am probably just going to copy that Underground Sea with Thespian stage to just have lands with different names for a little bit later on. I may end up wastelanding this Underground Sea. I have not decided that yet. Living Wish. Living Wish is a little weird because I can get things like Caracas or Dark Depths. I guess just getting Dark Depths is fine. Just cast Living Wish, get Dark Depths, play Dark Depths, just activate, just have my opponent dead next turn. And do this while wastelanding. Wasteland this. Cast Living Wish. No, I can't. Okay. So there's Living Wish. Yes. Dark Depths. Play it. Pass turn. So we'll put our opponent to the test there. There's an Entomb. Archon's actually a problem, isn't it? Wait, no, it's not. Because I can just make an Urza Saga token so that the Edict is not a problem. That's an Otawara played. This is show and tell. Omniscience could be very bad here. I obviously have nothing to put in. There is Omniscience. Ooh. Well, I liked the part where my opponent died. That was good for me. Thespian stage, target Dark Depths. Yeah, opponent says, yeah, shame scoop time. Happens to us all, Joe. Don't sweat it. So if my opponent puts in Grizzlebrand instead, they can like draw 7 cards, chump block, and then try to reanimate Archon of Cruelty. I'll have an Urza Saga token that makes the Edict not matter. I probably still end up winning that one, but it's still a game. Living Wishing for both Bojuka Bog and Fairy feels a little weird. Maybe I should board in one of them. The issue is that Bojuka Bog in this deck is sorcery speed only. We don't have crop rotations or anything. So doesn't do it. Like if I tutor it up, it doesn't do a lot versus end of turn Entomb. I could just naturally board in Bojuka Bog, keep Fairy to tutor for. I think that's reasonable. And cut like 1 Field of the Dead or something. Maze of Ith is good against some of my opponent's creatures. I could also cut a Thespian stage. Like I recognize that I just won that game with Dark Depths. But I think most of the time I'm just going to beat down with a couple of Urza Saga tokens or something. This is better than it looks. So I can lead on Vexing Bauble to help with Omniscience, and then I can Living Wish for Fairy Macabre to help against the reanimation side of the deck. Fantastic. That untapped land is actually very, very, very good. And my Vexing Bauble just resolved. Love that for me. So show and tell currently is the thing that is beating me. I'm not in a position where I can just like Living Wish for Lumra and hold that for show and tell. I don't think. Maze of Ith is not bad versus fair show and tell stuff. I think I'm going to cast the Living Wish this turn. Caracas is a consideration. Lumra is not crazy either. Lumra does some really neat things versus show and tell. I think I want Fairy. I think that just hedges against an important angle that my opponent could be doing. A little weird, like Manabond could end up being like very, very good. All right, Silent Gravestone. So my Fairy, much less good. My opponent can still reanimate with things like Exhume that don't target. Am I surveilling for interaction or just trying to kill my opponent? I think I'm surveilling. Like, I think if I hit something that lets me dump extra lands into play, that is quite powerful here. I could go wide of what my opponent does if I get Field of the Dead stuff going. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different names currently. That is a Ponder. I was thinking to myself, what is my opponent doing with 4 mana? And I wasn't sure. They're not doing anything with 4 mana. We are chilling. I don't really want to prolong this game. I would like to end it. But I don't hate this. I don't love it either, but I don't hate it. Opponent has more land still. Fuck. That's very hard to beat. That's very hard to beat. I now have to Living Wish for Lumra. Mulch doesn't even really do much. Okay. This has the side effect of turning off Urza Saga as well. Alright, we are show and telling. I think I just put lands into play. Alright, so my opponent has Archon of Cruelty, and I can't immediately answer that. I think at this point I am comfortable conceding here. Harbinger of the Seas, definite problem card for this deck. We might not play Magic this last round. My opponent has revealed a Chancellor of the Annex, so this is likely to be an unfair combo deck of some kind that just outpaces what I am doing. Alright, so there's Cabal Ritual off the Spirit Guide, Necro Dominance, and we are likely dead. This deck can lose to itself. It is possible that they draw 19 cards and just fizzle, and we just automatically win the game. That would be cool. It happens sometimes. We've seen it multiple times on camera on this channel already. Summoner's Pact for more Spirit Guide action. Manamorphose, this gives blue, so Born Upon a Wind can happen. Dark Ritual ×2. There's the Born Upon a Wind, which doesn't show up super well because of how quickly this is going. That's just an instant. So now my opponent can do stuff as if it has flash, and this likely means that I am dead. Again, there is a fail rate here, but I don't imagine that we're going to hit it. My opponent has looked at half of their deck. New Summoner's Pact. Fails to find a green creature. And that is a Beseech the Mirror, which can get Tendrils of Agony and just kill me. Yep. Sphere of Resistance is fine. Vexing Bauble is fine, I guess. Just like my deck doesn't matter versus their deck is kind of the unfortunate reality of the situation here. I think they have Artifact mana, so Collector Oof is relevant. Living Wish is just incredibly slow here. Hedge Shredder is incredibly slow. I don't think I can play Hedge Shredder versus a turn 1 combo deck. We're going to go the entire league without casting this. Pithing Needle doesn't particularly matter here. That can just become a land drop of some kind. Yeah, I just have zero ability to emphasis on meaningfully interact with this deck here. Sphere of Resistance is about the best we can hope for. Vexing Bauble, Sphere of Resistance is not exactly the best combo in the world, because Vexing Bauble counters things if they're free, and Sphere of Resistance makes stuff cost more. So, you know, I am viewing this as this gets me out of turn 1. Hopefully, this gets me into the mid game where cards like Wasteland can perhaps start mattering. My opponent has Mulligan to 3, which can still be a turn 1 kill. Just land, Dark Ritual, Necro. Hopefully that does not happen, but it can. Land. Not Dark Ritual, Necro. So, are we sphering or are we wastelanding? I think I wasteland first. I think I can play the spheres a little bit later to increase the time that my Vexing Bauble is relevant, but I don't play enough against this deck to know for sure. Specifically, I am dealing with the awkwardness of this interaction when making that decision. Untapped land would have been nice there, but it does not happen. So now, assuming that I don't die this turn, we're pretty good from here. There is Cabal Ritual and Necro, unfortunately. So I was trying to take out the Gemstone Mines so that the rituals aren't live. Failed at doing so. My opponent gets 19 cards. Now, the Summoner's Pact and stuff are off here, so it is a little harder to go off. Manamorphose. For the blue immediately. Dark Ritual. Cabal Writ. Cabal Writ again. Alright, there's Born. That gets countered. That gets countered. We are just in lethal Tendrils range. That gets countered. Alright, I'm going to stop narrating the spells that they are casting directly into Vexing Bauble or Storm Count. There is a Beseech the Mirror. So here's the problem. The spell that they are going to cast gets countered. However, the Storm copies that go on the stack do not get countered. So all of those copies do end up killing me. And Sphere of Resistance is better in this specific instance. I am dead. Even if I force another game with Sphere of Resistance there, this is not a matchup that feels favorable or winnable. All right, overall thoughts on the deck list. not great. I don't think the deck makes sense from a construction standpoint. I don't mean that in an insulting way. I just don't think this deck is optimizing the things that it is trying to do very well. So Living Wish is good because it allows you to skimp on win conditions. So this can simultaneously be win conditions and interaction. You don't need win conditions because your main deck already has enough of them. So this is just slow version of like Collector Roof and Fairy Macabre. We never tutored up Lumra in the entire league. And I don't know that Living Wish makes sense in this build as is. I cannot properly evaluate Hedge Shredder because I never drew it at a time where I could meaningfully cast it. My gut feeling is that this is what we might refer to as win more. I'm not a particularly big fan of that term. I don't think it's a good term. But I think this is only doing stuff when you are already doing relevant things. It does make those things stronger. But I think a 4 mana card that does pretty close to nothing on its own is not passing the bar of legacy playability right now, given how quickly decks are trying to kill us. So you can potentially make this more viable as a Hedge Shredder deck if you go in Ancient Tomb direction with like Ancient Tombs and Urza Sagas or something. I don't know that the build as is makes sense. Like you could cut some win conditions and Living Wish becomes better. You can play more things that lean into Hedge Shredder, like a couple of Ancient Tombs to make Urza Saga better as well. At that point, you'd probably need a more robust Urza Saga package that would have probably both Shadow Spear and Lava Spur Boots. I don't know how you really plan to beat combo decks. You're very soft to it in game 1. I don't know that we raced the average combo deck. It felt like we had some holes in the combo matchups for sure today. And without some sort of white removal or Tabernacle as redundancy versus Breachers, I don't know that you have enough controlling elements to be good in those longer games. Like, I was very scared of Psychic Frogs coming down early that I just couldn't answer. And I dodged a lot of them. But yeah, I don't think you need Saga and Field and Lair and Dark Depths combo and Living Wish for Lumra and Hedge Shredder all at the same time. I think you kind of have to pick some battles if you want to refine this deck list further. I can understand conceptually not wanting Tabernacle alongside Field of the Dead. Like, that is in theory a non-bow, but maybe if you get to the point where like you are ready to start Field of the Deading, you can, wasteland your own Tabernacle or just physically pay for the tax. I think this is a great thing to potentially revisit after the 16th when probably multiple somethings get banned in Legacy. I think this video is going to go live on the 16th, so there will be a couple of days of pre-ban content before we get the juicy post-ban content. As a side note here, YouTube members gain access to all of my videos as soon as they are uploaded, so if you're like, where's the new stuff? It will be uploaded very quickly, and you'll have access to it if you're a YouTube member. All right, folks, with that being said, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. If you need some cards, maybe the metagame got a big shakeup today, who knows? Promo code ThrabenU will save you a little bit on your order. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day. See ya!